What's up, you guys? It's your boy Omni Guy here, and you know it's time for another video. Let's talk about the Green Lanterns. Now, I'm a big fan of DC. I love the Green Lanterns. I love a lot about DC. You will find that out in future videos, and probably at the epilogue of this video where I talk about, future content, etc., like I do in most vids. But enough of all that. Let's get into explaining the Lantern Corps. For those who don't know about the Lantern Corps in DC Comics, you've probably seen them in Injustice games. If y'all watch the new Zack Snyder cut, you've seen them in the Snyder cut. Well, you've seen one of them. If you watch the Green Lantern movie, etc., etc., it's in other mixed medias. But they're basically a group of people that operate in an extraterrestrial corps that protect the universe, destroy the universe, a lot of different stuff. But enough of that as well. Let's get this started. So first, let me explain the emotional spectrum. The emotional spectrum is a field of energy fueled by emotions of all the sentient beings in DC. Well, in the DC universe. And that power was first discovered by a being named Volthoom, and he traveled through time and later landed on planet, excuse me for butchering his name, but Malsdune. I can't really pronounce the names, but it is the race of the Guardians of the Universe, who you'll learn on a little later. And Volthoom, when he came to their planet in the future, they would later figure out about that source of power, like that emotional spectrum, and basically create the Lantern Rings or the Green Lantern Rings, and they are the guardians over that, and they're known as the Guardians of the Universe. The most notable guardian of the universe is the being named of Krona. You see the picture on the screen. So just briefly, let me talk about Volthoom. Volthoom is a being who became the first lantern, and it's like a paradox thing, which will probably be in one of the other future videos I'll talk about. It's like he found out about him in the future and went to the past, so now that they created that paradox, the lantern rings had already been discovered in the past, but he originally discovered them in the future with his mother on Earth 15. And after making the travel lantern to travel back in time, that's when he gives, well, he doesn't necessarily give, that's when he lands on planet Motus and home of the Multisins, I can't even pronounce it. And that's how they become the, down the line, the Guardians of the Universe. So first, let me talk about the lights of the emotional spectrum and the Lantern Corps. So first, we're going to talk about the red lanterns, or the rage lanterns. The red lanterns represent rage and anger, of basically all existence. Controlling that red light renders the hearts useless and spoils the blood of the wielder. You will see that in pictures that I'm about to show on the screen, that if you look at certain red lanterns, blood is coming out of them. The entity of the Rage Corp is the Butcher, and the most notable red lanterns are Atrocitus, who is the leader, Bleeze, and Dexter. The red lanterns have also housed Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan, Kal Rayner, Superboy, Supergirl, and even Damian Wayne. So this, as you can see, this is really a visual video with me talking with it. Y'all can just really take the pictures in. So next I'm going to talk about the orange lanterns, or the avarice lanterns. They represent greed with their orange light. The wielders of the orange light have been shown to become twisted by their greed. They'll never give it up. They're greedy about everything, and they excessively guard their property, anything dealing with that's theirs. And the entity of the orange lanterns is Ophidian, and the most notable orange lanterns are Larfleeze and Bloom. Larfleeze actually stole the Orange Lantern in a battle with the Guardians of the Universe with a group of his own, and they only allowed him to get the Orange Lantern ring is by basically sacrificing his group and leaving like one survivor in him. That's how greedy he was. He became Agent Orange, which is the future leader of the Orange Lanterns. The Orange Lanterns have also housed Hal Jordan again, Kyle Rayner, and Lex Luthor. Now we're going to talk about the next one, which is Fear, the Yellow Lanterns. It represents the embodiment of fear in their yellow light. A being with the yellow light is capable of instilling great fear in others when they wield that power. As you can see, when Hal Jordan becomes Parallax, he basically is one of the scariest things in the universe in that comic, which gets to me the entity of the Yellow Lanterns is Parallax, and the most notable Yellow Lantern is Sinestro. You probably seen him in the Injustice games and stuff like that if y'all ever played them. The Sinestro Corps have also housed many beings such as Hal Jordan, Kyle Rayner, Batman, Superman, Superboy Prime, the Anti-Monitor, Cyborg Superman, Lobo, and even Scarecrow. Now let's talk about probably the most well-known, basically the main group. Like, basically they're the main character of the Lantern Corps. That is the Green Lanterns, or the Lanterns of Willpower. The Green Lanterns represent the willpower and the being that holds the green light. It's like the least amount of willpower in that being, the least amount of power they have. It's determined by the power of their will, and they have to overcome their fears. The Book of Oi, I probably pronounced that wrong, but it's like OA, and it holds all the history of the Guardians and the Green Lanterns. The entity for the Green Lanterns is Eon. The most notable Green Lanterns it's actually a lot of them, because there's a lot of main Green Lanterns on Earth and across a lot of different comics. So first we have Kyle Rayner, Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, John Stewart, Mogo, Kilowog, Alan Scott, Jessica Cruz, Simon Boss, and formerly Sinestro, who is a Yellow Lantern. The Green Lantern has also housed many beings as well, like Batman, many different versions of Batman actually, Harley Quinn, Superman, Flash, Kid Flash, Green Arrow, Doomsday, Uncle Sam, Barbara Gordon, Wonder Woman, and even Daffy Duck of the Looney Tunes. Yeah, it's really great. And then we're going to talk about the Lantern Corps that's most associated with the Green Lanterns, and by association I mean like being allies, is the Blue Lanterns of Hope. The Blue Lanterns are capable of wielding all hope to the future of conquering like basically everything. It's probably the most powerful wave of the spectrum, but it's the most difficult to wield and understand. Like, the power is hard to grasp, but when grasped, it's extremely powerful. It's probably arguably the most powerful wave of the spectrum, not including the two lanterns I'll mention towards the last that's on the spectrum. And it actually requires the Green Lantern's light to fully be able to work, like fully be able to be powerful, as much as I was just describing it. That's why I said more closely associated with. The most notable Blue Lantern is of course Saint Walker, and the Blue Lanterns have also housed Cal and Hal again, Starfire, Barry Allen, and Lois Lane. And next we're going to go to the Indigo Lanterns, or the Lanterns of Compassion. The Indigo light can be wielded by anyone with great compassion for other beings, and it also can slightly manipulate the other emotions on the emotional spectrum. The entity for that is, excuse me for butchering this probably, but Proselyte. I'm bad with names. I'm very bad with names. And the most notable Indigo Lantern is actually named Indigo. That's the leader of the Indigo Lanterns. But they've also housed John Stewart, Cal Rayner, Black Hand of another great Lantern Corps, and Sinestro. Now let's talk about the Violet Lanterns, or the Lanterns of Love. They are capable of great love. Anything dealing with love, like loving someone, losing a loved one, being rejected, like anything dealing with the concept of like love and compassion, which I'm not saying like compassion as the compassion lanterns, but like anything dealing with like love basically is the Violet Lanterns. And the Violet Lanterns actually came to by the female Mustians, which are, you know, the race of the Guardians of the Universe. They believed the way the male Mustians operated and rejected emotion was complete blasphemy, and they left their planet of All. And when they traveled across the universe, they found two crystallized corpses of a man and female embracing themselves. And that crystal they would later name the Star Sapphire. Well, it was already known as that, but that's the name of it, the Star Sapphire. It was an object filled with violet light. So that's how they became as the Violet Lanterns. An entity for the Violet Lanterns is the Predator, as you see on the screen. The most notable Violet Lantern is Carol Ferris. And they've also housed Guy Gardner, Cal Rayner, and a Wonder Woman. Now let's talk about one of my favorite lanterns. It's like mixed in there. I have a lot of favorite lanterns. I actually like all the lanterns, to be honest with you. But it's the Black Lanterns, the Lanterns of Death. The black represents total absence of emotion in the life that creates it. The Black Lantern is kind of tricky due to it technically having two entities slash embodiments. So first, the actual physical embodiment of death is the human Black Hand. He is the leader of the Black Lanterns. Yet we learn in later comics, like in Blackest Night, that the being responsible for the creation of the Black Lantern rings and the cosmic embodiment of death that was formed as the direct opposite of the entity of the white light and life in the universe itself before the creation of the universe, before it was formed, was Necron. That was the being, that was the embodiment, the physical embodiment of death, and it still is. So technically, Necron is the real entity of the Black Lanterns, and Black Hand is like a physical version. He's more of a leader, like a Sinestro or an Atrocitus, but it has been stated that he did hold the same significance as Eon or Parallax before, but it's like they technically have two embodiments, but the real entity is Necron. He also plays, and he basically is the entire plot of the Blackest Night story, which is the prophecy in the Book of Awe that is supposed to happen during or after the brightest day. This is also the most notable Black Lanterns, Black Hand and Necron. The Black Lanterns have probably housed the most lanterns out of any Lantern Corps, and that's saying a lot because the Green Lanterns is probably the most popular, but this is arguable. But I'm not going to say all of them because it's too much to name all of them. But they've also housed the entire Justice League, Anti-Monitor, Deathstorm, which is like an amped version of Firestorm, Reverse Flash, the Spectre, Dr. Fate, Donna Troy, Solomon Grundy, and like I said, many other DC characters. Like when I show you a couple pictures on the screen, you will be seeing like some Blackest Night issue comic pictures, panels. It'll show a lot of different characters, but as you've been seeing, I've been putting pictures of everybody so y'all can get like a grasp of what they look like. And now probably for the most powerful Lantern Corps that isn't on the 7 of the other emotional spectrums like violet, indigo, blue, etc. Death and life, they exist kind of outside of it, but they are technically still a part of it. So let's talk about the white lanterns, the lanterns of life. The white lantern is where the entire emotional spectrum originated from. Like everything comes from the white light. And the absolute darkness that was technically the universe at the time, it was a bright white light that came from an entity which fought with that darkness. And when those darkness and light collided, it broke apart and created those 7 colors that we know as the emotional spectrum now. So beings with the white light have the capability to like resurrect people from the dead, since you know the opposite of death is life. It can bring people back from the dead. And that white energy actually comes from all living beings. Yet you know all living beings come from that life entity, since it's the life entity of the entire universe and multiverse. And the ring doesn't actually follow the command of the user majority of the time, which an exception might be Kyle Rayner, but we're not entirely sure, but that's probably would be the only exception. It actually follows the command of the life entity itself. Like whatever the life entity think that wielder should do with the ring, that's what the white lantern ring does. And that later gets me into the entity of the white lanterns is called the life entity. And the most notable white lantern is none other than Kyle Rayner. Like he is, when you think of white lanterns, you think of Kyle Rayner. And same as the black lanterns, the white lanterns housed a lot of beings in the DC universe because of the blackest night and the brightest day. Like if you see those panels on the screen, you'll see that. So I'm just going to name a couple, like the entire Justice League, Kid Flash, and Swamp Thing. So now that we're done with the actual lanterns, the ones on the emotional spectrum, the ones that's important, like now let's talk about some special lanterns like that aren't regular lanterns, that's different, that barely have any like appearances, like they have probably like 1 comic appearance or 2 comic appearances, stuff like that. Like back to like a couple minutes before, Volthoom actually doesn't appear that much either, but he's important in the origin of the emotional spectrum in the lantern rings. So first, let me talk about the ultraviolet lanterns. The ultraviolet lanterns are a set of lanterns that exist on the unseen light of the invisible spectrum. It's like the opposite of the emotional spectrum. It is powered by a dark, timeless, primordial force known as Umbrax. It's like a sun type being. It's shaped like a medium-sized star. Like it's basically a sun. And the ultraviolet lanterns have known lanterns that we've known already in John Stewart and Sinestro. That's who they've housed. It's like really important. We don't really know much about the other members because they only had like a small cameo. Now let's talk about one of my other favorite lanterns, is the Phantom Lantern. Now I really like the Phantom Lantern. I love the color, I love how the power works, I love the balance between it and everything. The Phantom Lantern is a lantern ring created by a guardian of the universe named Rami, just in case the Green Lantern's ring weakness for the yellow light became too much of a problem for the Green Lanterns, since that was like the main Lantern Corps. That's who the Guardians of the Universe oversaw. Like they overseen them forever, and they still do. So in turn, it actually became a ring that could channel all 7 colors. You know, that's not including white and black. It could channel all them. Like it could switch between them basically. Like it can go from red, it can go from blue. It wasn't like Kyle Rayner's White Lantern ring where he could just channel all of them. It's surprisingly similar. The previous user and the user we most notably see in the comic with the Phantom Lantern is Frank Lemansky. But currently, or let's say last seen with the Phantom Lantern ring, is actually Cyborg Superman. Yeah, that was like a good addition. I love that comic. I'll give some type of comic recs at the end of the video. So Now this is getting towards more the end. It's just smaller lantern things. It's like the radio lantern. I really can't pronounce his name, but I'll pop it up on the screen. But he's a Green Lantern, but as you can see, he comes from like a race of radio lanterns. Now we have the hybrid lantern, which is just Kyle Rayner, as you can see on the screen. If you see all the other pictures you've seen, you can basically determine what that hybrid lantern is. And we also have the Omega lanterns. Now technically it's two types of Omega lanterns. I want to put quotations around it. Omega lanterns. First we have Jessica Cruz, one of the newer, Green Lanterns, main Green Lanterns. She goes into a fight with Darkseid and dies, and she absorbs the power of the attack that killed her, which was Darkseid's Omega beams, like the Omega power. So she was essentially a Green Lantern with Omega power. So that's why I put quotations around Omega Lantern. And the other Omega Lantern is Kyle Rayner with the team of Omega Men. As you can see right here, it's essentially still Kyle Rayner and basically how his power works, as you can see in the picture. And lastly, let's talk about really not a Lantern Corp. Well, it is, its name says Corp, but let's basically just say it's not really a type of lantern. It's not even a type of ring. It's just essentially all the other lanterns, but a tiny twist on it. It is the Rainbow Batman lanterns in the multiversal end issue of Dark Knight Death Metal. It's essentially, if you read or know about Dark Knight Death Metal, you would know that it's basically a it is the dark multiverse, basically, of in all the crisis that's happening at one time. It's a lot of Batmans. It's Batman Darkseid, it's Batman everything. So they also had the Batman Corps, and as you can see in the back, that all of them have rings. It's every different color essentially, and that was just a nice little addition that I wanted to add in there. So that's been everything about the Lantern Corps. Now this will be an epilogue to this video. If you want to subscribe, if you like this video, I suggest you to actually watch this part. If you're not, if you're just looking about the Green Lantern information, this, that, and the fourth, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope my information was useful, and this is for the people who want to stay, and I hope everyone wants to stay, and y'all should give a like and subscribe to this video. So this is the epilogue, and I'm going to talk about basically what I may do for a future comic type of explaining video, and you can comment down below for which one you want. Next, I might be doing the DC's Future State, which is like the newest kind of event that's been going on, and it's kind of short, so it'll be like a nice little video, but it has different comics, and I was going to actually kind of just talk really briefly about each comic and kind of like the timeline of those comics. And yeah, I thought that would be a nice video. And also I wanted to do the entire dark multiverse like type of thing, like the entire dealing with the dark multiverse, because I'm a huge Batman fan. Anything was like dealing with Batman, I'm there for it. Like, even though the dark multiverse and Dark Knight Metal is about Barbados and etc., even though that's not really Batman, but he's the Bat God, and if you read those comics, he plays a lot into Batman's existence and so on and so forth. But I was either going to do like the entire dark multiverse, like the Tales from the Dark Multiverse, including Dark Knight Metal and Dark Knight Death Metal, which includes Rise of the New God, like a lot of people seeing one of my most hyped beings right now, The Darkest Knight. And that would be a much longer video, since that is like it's basically 3 entire comic I won't say timelines, but like it's 3 different events. But I would still be willing to do that video just for you guys. But you can comment which one you want. I'll probably eventually do both, but I can either do the Future State one first or the Dark Multiverse one first. It doesn't matter. So yeah, that's been the end of this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and as much as I enjoyed doing it for you guys, I love giving information about comics. I love informing people on things who don't really know it, or for people who even do know it. So I hope y'all like this video. If y'all can, give a like, comment, give me some feedback, comment, and say what you want in a future video. I got, for my manga people that watch my Shaman King video, I got a lot of manga content coming soon. And it's been your boy Omni God.